All right, so let's take a look at Happy Birthday. This is a great tune to know how to play. You can, sing Happy Birthday or play Happy Birthday for all of your loved ones. It's a good time. All right, so let's start off by looking at the chords to this song. A lot of you are probably going to want to learn how to play this song so you can sing it to someone, be it sing it to your grandchild or sing it to your mom or whatever the case may be. Let's look at the chords because that's how we're going to be able to sing along. We have it written out here in the key of F. Our starting note for singing this song is this C note. That's where we're going to start singing. So if you want to kind of find your range, maybe if you've got a higher voice, you'll want to start on that one. Happy birthday. That is not my note. And then we're going to go into an F chord. Happy birthday to... like that. So I've got my F chord. Again, the F chord, I've got my index finger on the first fret of the E string, middle finger on the second fret of the G string. So I get my F chord there. I'm going to be making that transition from an F chord to a C chord. And notice how I have my ring finger not doing anything right now. That's perfect because I can get that ring finger ready to land right on the third fret of my A string so I can get that C chord. You might also see me sometimes use my pinky finger on the third fret of the third fret of the A string in order to achieve that C chord. I do like that because that same note, that C note that we're playing on the third fret of the A string, works really well in the F chord. Because we know that C is a note that occurs in the F chord because we've got our open C right here. And if we wanted to add a little extra, a different flavor, we could also add in that C note up there. And I just like the way that my pinky feels playing that note. Okay, so we've got Happy Birthday to you. So that word you is going to fall when we switch to the C. Happy birthday to you. And that you is where we go back to the F. Happy birthday, dear someone. Ooh, B flat. We haven't looked at B flat yet, but we'll come back to that. Happy birthday to you. Okay, so B flat is that weird one in here. But before we worry about the B flat, let's just make sure that we have everything else under control, right? So we have our F and our C. We just want to make sure that we can switch back and forth between those two chords. There's another thing going on in this song that we haven't really discussed before. It is a different time signature. That means we have a different number of beats in each measure than we have been. Normally we've been counting in fours, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we were breaking up our song into groups of 4. Well, here in Happy Birthday, we are breaking up our song into groups of 3 beats at a time. So here we are counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to play through the chords to this song while counting the beats, so you can hear what that sounds like and how it all falls together. You know how it structurally works. 1, 2, happy. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there's a lot going on there, as you can tell. So we're dealing with 3 beats per measure instead of 4. Again, this is something that if you know the song, you don't really need to think about that so much. You can just, you know how to sing Happy Birthday. You've probably been doing it for a while, so you are all set there, and you just need to make sure that you're changing the chord accordingly. So we've got Happy Birthday to you, Happy Birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear so-and-so. Oh, how does it go? So-and-so. Happy birthday to you. So you can, as long as you're just changing the chords at the appropriate time, you don't really need to necessarily think about those 3 beats. But those 3 beats are going to be what helps you create a strumming pattern when you're ready to start strumming the song instead of just, hitting those chords as they change. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear so-and-so. Happy birthday to you. Be able to spice up the song a little bit. That's where that counting is going to come in handy. We also have this little part of the song that, when we all slow down when we say the person's name, right? Happy birthday, dear Georgina. When we have that part, we have this little symbol over that note in the music, you can see. It's like a dot with kind of an arch over it, and that is called a fermata. And that tells us we are going to kind of take a dramatic pause. We're going to sing that note longer than it's supposed to be sung. So happy birthday, dear Rosita. We're like hanging out on that second beat of the measure instead of moving on in time as it should be occurring. So that's what that symbol means. We're going to slow down dramatically in kind of a dramatic way. Happy birthday to you, and then we jump back into the song at normal time from there. So that's how we read what's going on there. If I were to ignore the fermata there and just play through in time, this is what it sounds like. So I'm going to start on measure 5. So birthday, dear Jamie, happy birthday to you. Like that. Happy birthday, dear Jamie, happy birthday to you. See how it just kind of like, just plows on through. It doesn't have that same like kind of dramatic thing. I'm sure when you're singing happy birthday, you might, depending on the person, you might get extra dramatic because you're trying to embarrass them in the middle of the restaurant because it's their birthday and that's what you do. So that's the fermata. We've got 3/4 time. We're counting in 3s for this song. And we've also got that B flat. Now, you have the B flat chord chart in there. B flat is kind of a tricky chord because one of the things that it requires us to do is hold down 2 strings with 1 finger. So, you'll notice on the chord chart that you have for this song, it is asking you, there's like a kind of a bar going across these 2 strings, your A string and your E string. And you can see with my index finger right there, I am pushing down on both of those strings. Once I'm pushing down on the 1st fret of the E string and the A string, those 2 right there, then I can add my middle finger to the 2nd fret of the C string, and then my ring finger to the 3rd fret of the G string. Now, getting that to work is probably going to take a little bit of time. Getting particularly this right here, getting these 2 fingers, or these 2 strings with your index finger, it's going to take a little bit of time to get that to sound right. One of the tricks that I employ when I'm playing bar chords is I am pushing down with the side of my finger, not the flat of my finger. I've got joints in there that a string could get caught in between. The pad of my finger, it might not, notes might get lost in there. Certain parts of the pad of my finger might push the string down far enough, but like the middle of the pad of my finger, with the same amount of pressure, isn't going to make that string go down, if that makes any sense. It could end up muting where some of those notes. So the side of my finger is a little bit bonier. So I kind of lean into the side of my finger. That's the side of my finger that is closest to my thumb. And I kind of lean in. So if my hand is like this, I kind of lean back a little bit. I kind of lean like so. It's very, very subtle. I don't need to do a lot of leaning. I don't want to go like that. I don't want to be at a 90-degree angle. That's not going to help matters with the other fingers. But what I do want to do is I just want to like lean the pressure of that index finger to the side of my finger. And that's gonna help me get a nice clean notes there. But then comes the trouble of getting these fingers into place, right? So what we could do is we can practice this by itself, getting those notes how we want them. And then separately we can practice this, just playing these three notes. So I would start with my ring finger, get my ring finger on the 3rd fret of the G, middle finger on the 2nd fret of the C, and index finger on the 1st fret of the E. And then I've got those three notes, and those three notes are enough to give me a B flat chord. That is the same as that. All that adding this note up here on the A string, that 1st fret of the A string, that is just pronouncing the B flat note a little bit more. The 3rd fret of your G and the 1st fret of your A are the same exact note. So that's just being doubled when we play all 4 strings. Which sounds very nice, but we don't need it necessarily. So I can just play these 3 strings, the 3rd fret of the G, 2nd fret of the C, and 1st fret of the E, and I have my B flat chord. And especially where this chord occurs only once, really briefly, I don't need to necessarily worry about like making that chord as big as it possibly can, if I don't want to. It can sound perfectly like that. If I do leave that A string open, like I just did, gives me what is called a B major 7 chord, which is also a really pretty chord. So all day. So those are the chords for Happy Birthday, and essentially how we could play that song. I'm going to go through the whole thing again, and then we're going to take a look at the melody to Happy Birthday. So first, chords, strumming and singing. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jamie. Happy birthday to you. And there we have it. If I didn't want to worry about that B flat chord at all, like maybe you've got the C and you've got the F, and Jeremy's birthday is like 3 days away, and you just don't have that B flat yet, don't play it. Don't even worry about it. You can just go, happy birthday, dear Jeremy. Happy birthday to you. Even though the song wants that B flat there, it's going to sound fine without. And the important thing is that you're singing to Jeremy. That's what he cares about. He doesn't care if you threw all the chords in there, if you dropped a note here or there. He's just happy that you remembered his birthday. So there you go.